I don't think we as a society, as a world, I don't think nobody taught us how to be alone. I think we're afraid to be alone, right? So then when something like this comes, which is basically it's a pandemic of isolation, right? So when something like this comes along, you're forced to be with yourself. Now, in the era of checking the cell phones all the time and being distracting and you know, it's almost like the whole environment is against self-reflection or quietness.
This is a generation that actually saw for the first time in their life someone being murdered, killed on television. That impact is not going away. It almost reminds me of my dad, who was from the South, who actually witnessed a lynching that stayed with him the rest of his life. He was 7 years old and you don't lose that stuff, you learn how to deal with it.
I'll tell you frankly, there's certain days I'm happy to be masked, so I can just move in and out.
Every conversation that we have means something. It's so important, the amount of conversations that you can have, because you can learn a lot. Even if it's from an opposing view, you can still learn something. If we want change to come, I always go by the phrase, if you don't stand for something, you fall for anything. So if you want change to really take place, you have to first think beyond your thoughts and yourself and listen to the needs and the wants of the people that's next to you. Because their needs and wants are just as important as yours. And in that way, you'll be able to come to an understanding and create something that works for everybody.
So having an opportunity to go back and look at images from before of that, we do sort of ache for those moments because they were so, you know, we took them for granted in a way.
I typically have 35, 37 students in a classroom. They don't turn on their cameras. Now, you could, naughty students, you're not turning on your cameras, but there's all kinds of reasons because they didn't choose this online venue. They may not have a camera. They may not have the bandwidth to use a camera. They might be in a situation where they're not dressed appropriately, or they're in their bedroom, which they share with somebody else, and they don't want, you know, the camera. So there can be all kinds of reasons why they're not using their cameras. So as faculty members, we can't insist that they use their cameras because we don't know the reasons why they're not. You have to be respectful of their choices.
Going into 2020 in general, I had a grandma that unfortunately passed away, so it was a hard time for me to come in. And since this happened in March, it was like just around my birthday, like I would say 11 to 8 days, somewhere around that to my birthday was. And it was just a really hard time for me to adjust in general.
I'm telling you, 2020 sucked.
I had waited forever to live alone again. I've had two husbands and 3 children. And the last time I lived alone was like 1969. And so I was great with this. So I could write when I wanted, I could paint when I wanted. It's a very small town. I live off of a dirt road. I can go outside, nature, I can walk. I did not have some of the problems that some people did. And I was careful, but I'm not obsessive either.
That's the irony of America. We rely on children to raise us. That's our mistake. We had no legendary fathers. You know, we had no legendary mothers. We arrived on boats and it was the sick kids that survived. And those were the ones that became our forefathers and became America. Like, think about that. We were raised by teenage kids and we still act like it. So for me, if there's no justice with the George Floyd case, there's no justice, period.
It was quite, you know, shocking, monumental. You know, it was, there was a lot going on in my life at that time anyways. My mom was, you know, needing care, and all our siblings were all taking care of her that way. So, you know, I would look at the news and just, you know, yell at the TV with the COVID conferences that were going on, and just following everything through the New York Times and things on Facebook. Trying not to
live alone again.
alienate friends, and kind of eventually I figured on Facebook, well, the thing I can do is spread some joy, so I just Photoshop things
Someone being murdered,
see what response
I like to say that 2020 is the year of realizing
I went back and looked at images from
component of taking care of myself. That's something that
Frankly, there's
needs
certain days
to
I'm happy to
be with
masked,
me
so I can just
forever,
move in
because
and
I
out.
forget myself sometimes. So, yeah.
We lost our own identity somehow. Kind of, we like a little animal who try to escape from the reality to little hole or safe place to survive, almost.
Just listening sharper, just listening sharper with my ears as well as with my heart, It's almost as if you can hear what a person is saying without them actually saying it sometimes, I don't know, some type of a sense, it's like God telling you what the motivation is behind the person of what they're saying and or what they're doing, in my family members as well as co-workers.
It's hard not to harbor any ill will towards people who don't understand that side of the equation. Some people will think it's maybe, oh yeah, no, it's not that big of a deal. I know people who've had it and they've been fine. And then you get the stories from some of the, healthcare workers like my husband that are, really gruesome and really tragic and horrible. People dying, in pain and alone. And it's not a pleasant, it's horrible.
From the time, from January to the time that the country decided to shut down, we saw an uptick of almost 70 more fires. So it was just more cooking, people cooking, and so we're now seeing that number decline a bit. So that's promising. The country's opening back up. People are eating out again. People are stepping outside, or I dare say that they're learning how to cook.
I remember when I was a kid, the night I was sitting with my parents and John F. Kennedy was shot. I remember that when I was a little girl. And I remember seeing the fear on my parents' face, and I didn't really know what was going on, but I knew that something bad was happening, and I was scared. And I remember that to this day. I'm 62 years old. I'm almost 63. And I remember that to this day. It was just, you can feel the fear in the air. And I think that's what it was for the kids. They knew we were scared. They knew all of a sudden it was like, shut down, call your parents, let's go.
I sum up my role as the fork in the road. When kids get to me, they're usually, especially the high schoolers, they're usually in a place where they can easily stray either way. And my job is to make sure they take that right path, which is the hard path, and that's the problem. The easy path is to say, I'm not going to school, I don't care, whatever, it's easier to play video games, whatever. The harder path is to wake up 7:30, log on, do your work virtually, be logged on the whole day, and repeat and repeat and repeat. That's the hard path. So I'm there to guide them, I'm there to push them, whatever motivations they need that I have, that's what I use to, get them steered on the right path.
Although social distancing is really difficult with people, we all know what our comfort and discomfort is. And you know, it's like an invisible virus that we don't know much about really, other than how to take some space.
I think I just pushed myself more than I had ever, and it was just so peaceful and calming just to kind of be away from work, because I never got away from work. So being up in a mountain somewhere, or like we did Baxter State Park. I didn't climb Mount Katahdin. That was nuts, but my husband did.
They don't know what they're walking into.
But my cell phone didn't work the entire weekend.
You know, some people
and that was pure joy.
Judge the situation correctly.
No emails, no text messages, no phone calls. It was the best.
And you have to know that.
We all know your perspective of both psychology and
you have to understand that when police show up.
I remember when I was a kid.
And there's no question people need emotional space. And that's what funerals do. They provide emotion. And because I think we all have the experience of lost someone we love. You don't realize until you see someone else. You know, when you have that encounter with someone else in person,
That's the thing. I shadow something. I think that's
release that emotion.
Shut down, call your parents. Let's go.
You know, so you have to be
my parents told me to have a heart for the people, and now I see exactly why they've been on me. You know, and I'm so thankful for that.
I don't feel particularly lonely. I think I have, you know, of course, you'd like someone present besides my cat to be in conversation. He doesn't pick up much. But it's been great as an artist. And yet, you know, I can't help but feel the huge inequities that have been revealed globally. And I've written, I suppose, about global grief.
I had a real good opportunity to really see and really